One of my favorite stories is about the lady that was standing at the kitchen sink looking out her kitchen window into the backyard, and she noticed in the backyard that her big old dog had something in its mouth and just shaking the daylights out of it. And so she dried her hands, she went out back, and she got her dog to come up to her, and she noticed that it was a grimy, dead rabbit. And that dog was just shaking the fool out of that rabbit. And she looked back across her backyard into the neighbor's yard where their rabbit cage was, and noticed that their pet rabbit was gone and the door was standing wide open. She thought, oh no, my dog has gotten into the neighbor's cage and gotten their pet rabbit out and killed it. So she made her dog drop that rabbit. She picked that rabbit up. She went inside. She went upstairs and she put that rabbit in the bathtub. She ran the hot water, and that rabbit was dirty and grimy, and she got all that dirt and grime off of that rabbit. And then she picked that rabbit up, she got her hair dryer out, and she began drying that fur of that rabbit and combing that fur, and finally she got that rabbit all dried, and it was looking pretty good. She went downstairs, she's got that rabbit under her arm, she looks out back, nobody's there, she tiptoes across her backyard, climbs over the fence, goes to the neighbor's rabbit cage and props that dead rabbit up in the corner of the cage. She closes the cage, climbs back over the fence, goes back to her backyard and into her house. Now about 2 or 3 hours later, this lady hears this blood-curdling scream coming from her backyard. Ah! Ah! She goes running outside, goes running back to the back fence, and there is her neighbor standing, staring at that dead rabbit that's propped up in the corner of the cage. And the lady says, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And the neighbor lady says, "Look, my rabbit, my rabbit. It died 2 weeks ago and we buried it right over there. It's come back to life. It's alive. It's alive." That's the story. That's the story of Christianity. Jesus was dead, and He's alive. He's come back to life. That's the story of Christianity. That's what Christianity is all about. And you know, that's actually your story and my story if we're Christians. That's our story. We ought to be running down the street saying, "I'm alive. I'm alive," and people ought to be looking at us saying, "He's alive," or "She's alive," because that is what has taken place if you have become a Christian. It says it so plainly in John chapter 5, verse 24. Jesus is speaking and He says, "Truly I say to you, he that hears my word and believes on Him that sent me hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life." That is the wonderful story of Christianity.